Hey guys, it's Mike with another King Arthur Legends Rise video. I feel like I'm getting whiplash with all the information that's going around HILD in the game. So I have seen some videos specifically from Dylar Tactic, who breaks down how you get HILD to nuke and how her kit does work. And it absolutely does work, but it does require chivalry level, I think 4 or 5 or higher. For it to work properly. And I feel like what I want to talk about today is whether or not she's worth pulling for, because my last video kind of left it up in the air. And then I also want to talk about the verbiage in her kit and how I feel like it's pretty misleading. So the first to answer the question is she worth pulling for? Absolutely. I think she has a unique kit. She has a unique mechanic in her kit, and she's going to be the only one in the game that does what she does. Even if it takes you a month or two and you have to wait till you can add her to the wish list to get her to chivalry level 5, she will absolutely be valuable on your account. If it came down to spending to get her, I mean, maybe you wait until she comes out. I think that when it comes to damage dealers and dot dealers and where she excels in the game, there's a lot of different opportunities that are available, so I don't really feel like she's necessary. But she is fun and she's really cool when she works correctly. That being said, I'm on chivalry level 1, so my HILD is not working correctly. But let's talk about why I feel like her kit is so misleading and why there's so much confusion around it. So her A3 ability is where she's actually going to do the dot explosion, but it's not necessarily her active skill. It's actually the passive 2 when using her skill 3 that's bringing on the dot explosion. The dot explosion is hiding behind 100% chance to gain prepare pressure surge, which can be upgraded on, I think, the 5th chivalry, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But under pressure surge, you still have a 100% independent chance for the last hit to trigger dot explosion on the enemy. And this is where I feel like the verbiage is misleading, to say the least. When you get her to chivalry level 5, ultimately the damage she does it's a lot, and it works out great. But is it truly exploding dots? And that's where I think it's falling down, because right now, as it sits on my account, she should be doing dot explosion, and she currently is not. And we've shown that in a couple different instances. We'll jump into Gorgos and show it again. But when you look at what dot explosion is saying, it detonates all dot effects on the target dealing damage. So it detonates all of them. So theoretically, this ability should do a minimum of the dot damage that would happen on Gorgos. So let's go in there and look at it, because it's not happening, at least the way that it's worded. Now, as you get these scaled up and all the different things that do pop up, the damage, it becomes real. And if you haven't checked out Dylar Tactics video, I would highly recommend it. It's impressive to watch. There's a little bit of time in there, and he's very thorough about all the pieces of her kit that work together. So I would highly recommend it. It was eye-opening for me. So if we come into Gorgos, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just see what she does as if she wasn't there. So we're going to go into Rosier here. We're going to try to get the same amount of dots on both times if we can. So she landed 3. Oh, she's going with her 10% chance here. And then Lancelot's going to go ahead and get some dots on Gorgos as well. If we take a look at how many we have the Weathering, as well as 8 dots. So that's 9 total dots that are going on right now. So if we just go ahead and hit Gorgos with an A1, might put another dot on. It did not. You see, we took down about a third, more than a third of his health, just by letting those 9 dots do what they do. So we're back in here. We actually have 1 less dot this time than we did before. I do think she's actually going to put a dot on with this ability, so it should be actually pretty comparable. But if we go ahead and use her A3, now she's going to actually take all the dots off of this champion now, or off Gorgos. Now the other thing to consider too is she's removing all these extra turns as well. So not just is she going to strip all of these dots off, she's also removing the extra turns. So theoretically, in a true dot explosion or a poison explosion, you get credit for each turn on each of these dots as well as the dot themselves. So we're going to go ahead and use her A3 and see exactly what she does here. So you can see the amount of health she took off is significantly less than just letting those dots come out there. So to call this a dot explosion, I think is incredibly misleading. I think what's happening in the back end of the code is there is an amount of attack that she's gaining, or some multiplier based on her attack that she gets on these dots that gets exponentially bigger as her other abilities stack up. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So if we come back out to her kit, looking at her A3, she gets this wind chill ability that you want to stack up 2 of them, because when she removes it, and you get, I think you want it to start a battle, and with a certain chivalry you get another one, but when she does get 2 stacks of this, she'll remove it and then gain attack increase 2 for 1 turn, and for steed favors, effect accuracy increase 2 for 1 turn as well. And then that actually kind of moves up with chivalries and so forth. But this attack increase here is substantially changing the amount of damage her dot explosion is doing. Whereas if she's truly just exploding dots, that should have nothing to do with anything, because the dots are based on the HP of the enemy that they're on, because they just do a flat percentage damage based on the HP. So that is a kind of a weird thing to actually be in the mechanic that would actually affect the dot explosion, which is why I was skeptical about her kit to begin with. That being said, when you do couple this with the chivalries, and as you increase up, get that extra wind chill on her, so she's pulling that off to get that extra attack on her, and then as you move through all the way to, I think it's Chivalry 5, where she moves Pressure Surge to Explosive Gust. So Pressure Surge is just doing the dot explosion by itself, and then as you upgrade that into it's hiding it from me, into Explosive Gust, you got the dot explosion, but you're also going to ignore 10% of the enemy's defense, which again, the dot it should be irrelevant of the enemy's defense. That shouldn't make a difference, because the dot is, as far as my understanding, maybe I'm wrong, I could just be an idiot, but as far as my understanding, the dot is a flat rate percentage of damage based on the enemy's max HP. Like, that's how I understand it. At least that's the way I've seen it in other games. Maybe it's different in this game. But anyway, ignoring defense shouldn't have anything to do with dot explosion. But clearly it does, because when you get her to Chivalry level 5, she will one-shot Gorgos. Pretty easily, it looks like. But the other thing too, and in the video, and thank you Dylar for pointing all this out, if you build her up with attack, the amount of damage she does with the dot explosion is actually increased. So I think somehow the dot explosion is linked to her overall attack power, and then as you stack these abilities and get into the extra wind chill, to go back to this piece here, where when she pulls it off, she's gaining that attack increase. I think it's like 40% extra attack. That's going to stack on top of her attack, and it really comes in and smacks hard, which is really impressive. And there was a lot of cool use cases for her in Arena and other locations just beyond Gorgos. But the struggle I honestly have with it is just this verbiage. Like the verbiage itself right here with the Pressure Surge calling it a dot explosion, because if you're pulling the dots off, it shouldn't matter. You're getting the same amount of explosion off of them, regardless of what your attack power is, regardless of anything. As long as you execute this ability, you should be destroying Gorgos in a major way. At least getting the amount of damage you would get from those dots otherwise, and then have it scale up potentially with her abilities. But it's just, I think that this is the confusing part of what's going on. That being said, long story short, HILD is a fantastic champion. She does require, I'd say, Chivalry level 5 to really be effective and get the true explosion you're hoping for when you hear about a dot explosion. But I would love to start working on the Chivalry there. Unfortunately, I just am out of all kinds of resources. So we do have 2 weeks left on the event. I do plan on pulling for at least one more copy. I am sitting on a couple Chivalry updates with the Master Memory Stones. So potentially I could get 2 Chivalry level 5 if I was able to pull one more copy. I'm showing you Morgan here. If I pulled one more copy of her, I'd get her to Chivalry level 2. And then if I got 4 more of these guys, we'd be right there at Chivalry level 5. So theoretically that could happen within the next 2 weeks, but from what I've seen on Chivalry level 5, she is an absolute beast. But that being said, jump in the item bag. I always like to pull something on these guys just to clean up the account a little bit, get some more fragments. These guys are all coming from the different events going on right now. I've pretty much finished all of them, so there's not really a lot left for me to do. Except for try to get some raid up summons and so forth, and work on pulling another copy of HILD if I can. We still do have Merlin's Storm Relic in the shard shop, so I'm hoping to pick that up before it goes away. We got 4 days on that, so I'm only about 10,000 tokens away from being able to pick that up. I don't know that his Storm Relic is super good. I think mostly people use his Flame or his Frost Relic, but it's one on the account I don't have, so you know, I'm just trying to get them all going there. So I am a dirty pay-to-win player, so I probably will be picking up this Champion Pass, and with purchasing the Champion Pass you do get 30 raid up summons plus this additional 10. That'll get me to 47, which will basically almost guarantee me another copy of HILD. And I plan on doing that for a couple reasons. Number one, I'd really like to get her on the account and get her to Chivalry level 5. But secondly, over here in the events, by doing those raid up summons with actual raid up summon tickets, you do get these memory rudiment chests, you know, 30 of them. So that's kind of a fun thing there. And I do want to spend some crystals as well to get these remaining 2. So I'm just that much closer to getting those the chivalries done. But it did not give me credit. I said that in a previous video. It didn't give me credit for when I purchased these with rubies or crystals to pull for her, because I've actually pulled 70 raid up summons during this event, and it only gave me credit for the 34 that were actually raid up summon tickets, not the ones that I did spend crystals on. That being said, I did notice a couple of these packs come in that were based on crystals. So if you actually break this down, for 1,500 crystals you can get just 10 of these special summons. So you are getting 100 of these. Now these are random, they're not selectors, and 10 of each of the relic summons for an extra 500 rubies, which seems like a pretty good value if you have a need for these guys here. Like, versus just buying 10 of these directly, I would rather spend it here, get the 10 plus all those extra goodies for an extra 500 rubies. Essentially this is kind of like a legendary, because you are getting 100 fragments. They're just going to be spread out across everybody. So depending on what your account looks like, that could be beneficial or not so much. If you've got a lot of Chivalry level 10 legendaries, it's kind of useless. That likewise here, if you think about spending to get 30 pulls, that's going to be 4,500 crystals. So for that extra 500 crystals, you're getting a significant amount of things, and these ones are actually the selector version, which is even better. So if you are thinking that you're trying to find a place to spend crystals that are going to give you pretty good bang for your buck, assuming you have people on your wish list that you'd be excited to pull, and there's not a better spot for you to spend the crystals to get actual raid up summons to work on HILD chivalries, these packs I think are actually not too bad of a value if you're looking for a spot to spend crystals. But that being said, to be honest, I think it'd probably just make more sense to spend the crystals right here and get the extra 10 pulls in the raid up summons to guarantee yourself your copy of HILD. I'd definitely get her on the account if you can. Like I said, she has a unique mechanic. At low chivalries, it's straight trash and garbage, but at high chivalries it is amazing. So you're gonna want to put that on your account. But we're gonna go ahead and pull. I need 300 crystals to finish out this 10 pack, and then we're gonna complete that other 10 pack as well, just to see if we get a little bit lucky on the account. So we've been sitting here talking about HILD for like 5 or 6 videos now. Didn't get lucky on that one. Still a couple rares we're working on. Ooh, we only got 1. That's pretty rough. Gareth is all dialed in, so we have her at Chivalry level 10, but we did get some tokens for the shard shop. Let's see if we get lucky on this raid up summons. We're going to go ahead with another 10. 450 crystals coming in hot. Maybe we get another chivalry on her right now. Maybe not. Yeah, not this time, but we are closer to pity. We do still have, I don't even know, 10, 11 days on the event. So I do plan on being able to pull at least enough to get that pity. We did. We finished out Sarah right there. That was the last one we needed for Sarah. So her chivalry's done. I think now we're just working on Ralph. And I have a little 10 pull here of the normal summons. I probably should have started there and warmed my luck up, but we'll see if we can squeak out another rare. We did. We got another rare. So that'll be some tokens at least, or maybe we get that copy of Ralph. That'd be pretty hilarious if we actually picked that up. So we got boars. All right, come over here, turn that into 403 tokens right there. We'll roll in there and get Sarah's chivalry up, although I'm pretty sure I'm out of gold. And I blew through all my stamina just going through some different things on the account, trying to go through Hall of Conquerors and everything else. But with those rate up summons, it did give me credit for the 7 that I had, so I have 41 now. So we got these guys here. Just need to get another 19 on the count to finish this up. And then obviously I'm looking over, this is a 18-day time frame, so but I do want to get those rate up summons pulled before HILD is out of the rate up banner, so that is something I want to get done prior to that. So I just need to get 19 of those rate up summons to do that, and then the crystal consumption, I have a lot more time to get in there and get those dialed in for that. But seeing how we picked those up, might as well pull those as well, just get a little more of these, stacking them up slowly but surely, getting them on the account here. But I think that's about what I got for you today. I apologize for all the misinformation that's going on around HILD. I am part of the problem, I know it, but it's just my first impression as I was playing with her, that it just felt like something was broken. And I kind of stick to it, that I think a dot explosion should not work the way that it's working. But when you do get it to high chivalries, it does work the way that we all hoped and expected it to. It's just a matter of putting a little bit extra time on HILD and kind of building her out with high attack instead of focusing specifically on that dot explosion. So that's about it. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me all the way to the end, and I look forward to seeing you next time.